The last episode of Raw saw two huge rematches from Judgment Day. The Olympic gold medalist taking on the Rabid Wolverine, and the Texas Rattlesnake defending the WWF Championship again against the 420-pound Samoan. Kurt Angle must have been in a joyous mood before his match with Chris Benoit, as earlier the American Hero was told that this match would now be a number one contenders match for the WWF title at the King of the Ring. Kurt Angle also made the decision not to move to WCW, but will no doubt be gunning for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship when the time comes. Even if victory by interference, Kurt must be feeling like a king already. All he has to do is just beat Chris Benoit one-on-one. Speaking of victory by interference, Stone Cold Steve Austin finds himself one-on-one with Rikishi in the main event for the title, as was decided earlier by CEO Linda McMahon. This isn't a street fight, and the fact that Stone Cold was disqualified last week at SmackDown against Rikishi, and the fact that Stone Cold could get disqualified again, either by his own actions or maybe by Triple H's interruption in this one-on-one match, could spell disaster for the Samoan. Judgment Day has returned to Raw. God have mercy on their souls. Again. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon who are coming down to the ring to kick off SmackDown in Muncie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, get a good look at your WWF champion. That's right. Stone Cold Steve Austin went to Raw and kicked that Samoan ass again. And I bet you people didn't think I could do it. I bet you idiots at home sat in your chairs didn't think I could do it. But Stone Cold Steve Austin did it all on his own. I told you some bitches that I am a fighting champion, I am a man's man, and that's all I gotta say about that. And as far as Rikishi goes, it's over. It's over. I'm done kicking your ass. Your chance to be WWF champion is over. You go back to the line, kid. Now, on to other business. Linda McMahon, you think what you said had an impact on Stone Cold Steve Austin? You want to use what I said last week, that I could beat Kane and The Undertaker at the same time for the WWF Championship? You want to book me in a triple threat match for the title in 2 days' time? Well, that's fine by me.
Michael Collins has a surprise with the admission from the Texas Rattlesnake.
In fact, Stone Cold was going to suggest putting the title on the line against them anyway.
Michael Cole doesn't agree with that admission, however.
And as far as The Undertaker and Kane go, you two dead sons of bitches want to play mind games with the Texas Rattlesnake? You want to interrupt Stone Cold when he's in the ring, doing what he does best by turning out the lights? Well, as far as lights go, both of you will be looking at the lights on Saturday when Stone Cold beats both of you and keeps the World Wrestling Federation Championship.
Vince claps, followed by the lights going out, the ominous organ blaring in the PA, followed by shoots of fire in the stage, as out come the Brothers of Destruction, walking to the ring. Austin and Vince are smiling at The Undertaker and Kane, which puzzles Cole.
Are they looking for a fight against Kane and The Undertaker?
He asks. But it's soon obvious as to why they're smiling, because out comes Triple H, running down the ramp hoping to cheap shot them both. But Kane and Taker turn round just before the game can cause damage. The setup has failed, and Triple H finds himself falling to the ground multiple times as the Brothers of Destruction take it in turns, attacking Triple H. The smiles have gone from Vince and Austin. They leave the ring when Taker and Kane get in, going to ringside and picking up Triple H after his cheap shot attempt was foiled. Undertaker makes a challenge.
Why do we gotta wait for the presence of the Queen, Austin? Why not do it right now? Come on, son, make a challenge. Let's see how much of a man's man you really are. Me or Kane, Austin? Who's it gonna be? What about you, Triple H? Are you a man too? Or are you just Austin's bitch?
Austin feels the need to speak up.
Nobody, and I mean nobody, questions my manliness. Especially you, Undertaker, you stupid son of a bitch. That's why I'll go one-on-one with your brother Kane.
Taker laughs, then responds,
That settles that then. How about it, Triple H? You and me, one-on-one tonight.
But Commissioner Regal interrupts. Maybe good timing by the Goodwill Ambassador on behalf of the game.
Now, Undertaker, I do believe that I am the commissioner here in the World Wrestling Federation. So who do you think you are trying to make matches?
Apologies, Triple H. I didn't mean to interrupt, and I no doubt I'm sure you would kick his arse here tonight. Triple H agrees and points at Taker. Michael Cole's cynicism again coming out in commentary.
But, Hunter, I've got another match lined up for you right now. However, before I can do that, you two,
Regal pointing at the Brothers of Destruction,
you two bloody well get out the ring right now, or we'll have words about your triple threat match for the WWF Championship at Queen's request. Go on, bugger off.
Taker and Kane leave the ring. They walk up the ramp and stare at Regal. Triple H, Vince and Stone Cold, but no attack. The Commissioner tells the crowd before he announces Triple H's opponent.
You see, I saw that Mick Foley sticking in his nose in my business on Raw, and if he's going to be taking advisement from other superstars, then those superstars are going to feel the full extent of my force. So Bradshaw, get out here and go to the ring right now.
Bradshaw comes out, stares at Regal, and then heads to the ring. It's announced that one half of APA will be taking on one half of the two-man power trip next. It's not often that one has the ability to take Triple H off his feet, but the powerhouse that is Bradshaw can be just as mean as the game. Bradshaw's right hands, knees to the gut, and a spine buster have Triple H reeling. He may have been dangerously close to a shot victory if he could have hit the powerbomb, but Triple H is able to counter with right hands, while seemingly being about 10 foot in the air. He's released from Bradshaw's grip before hitting the pedigree to gain the victory. Triple H comes through the curtain and bumps into Rob Van Dam. The whole effing show congratulates the game on his victory, but is impressed with the way Triple H managed to release himself from Bradshaw's powerbomb attempt.
You think that's impressive? You've only been here for 5 minutes. Why don't you go ask the production library or whatever for tapes? Because if you thought what I did out there was impressive, you ain't seen nothing yet.
RVD nods, but he's then confronted by the hardcore champion Rhino.
Now, this looks impressive, says the game. Rhino looking like he might go your ass right now.
That's the look Rhino has. The smile from RVD has gone, but then Rikishi comes into shot, and the three turn their attention to the Samoan.
Yeah, what you did out there to Bradshaw might have been considered impressive. Right, says Rikishi. But now my business with Stone Cold is over, it's now time to finish my business with you. And you know what would be impressive? That would be me kicking your ass.
The game laughs.
I agree, Rikishi. That would be impressive. But you know why it would be impressive? Because it's never going to happen.
Triple H and Rhino stare at their opponents before the game and the Man-Beast walk off. The Undertaker is lying on the floor, clutching his left leg, but there's nobody around, either to be identified as the culprit or to help out the American Badass. Staff do come to the aid of the Undertaker eventually, as Michael Cole is convinced it was probably Stone Cold Steve Austin's doing. Commissioner Regal and Vince are catching up in Regal's office.
Oh, plans are going well, Mr. McMahon. I've got opponents organised for Raven, for Raja Kong, and that Chris Jericho. Oh, he's in big trouble.
Kai and Tai enter the room, with Funaki laughing, and Taka Michinoku pointed at Vince, and then at Regal.
Evil,
Taka says at the Commissioner. Regal is shocked, but tells Taka he has the chance to go to the UK and defend the Light Heavyweight Championship. That is, if he can beat Jerry Lynn for that very title tonight. Taka nods and laughs, whilst Funaki points at Regal.
Indeed.
Kai and Tai walk off. Regal asks McMahon, do you notice that whenever they speak, or wherever they speak, doesn't match what comes out of their mouths? Weird, I tell you, weird. Jerry Lynn has already claimed a victory over Funaki and retained the light heavyweight title not so long ago, and the former ECW champion could say he's now beaten both members of Kai and Tai, again hitting the cradle pile driver to keep the belt. Turns out it's Jerry Lynn who will be going to the UK and defending the title at Queen's request, but Cole and Taz wonder who his opponent will be. Good timing as well. A good question by Taz and Cole, as it turns out just a few minutes later, Commissioner Regal comes to the stage and congratulates Jerry Lynn on another title defence, and that he will be defending the Light Heavyweight Championship, but with an opponent of Regal's choosing, this Saturday. Billy Gunn is walking down the corridor and heads to Commissioner Regal's office. He comes in to find Al Snow, Steve Blackman and Kay Quicker also stood there. Not sure why they've been summoned into the office of the Goodwill Ambassador, before Regal himself comes in and sits down in his chair. Gentlemen, but Regal is interrupted by the one, Billy Gunn.
Look, Regal, just because I'm no longer in the King of the Ring tournament doesn't mean I shouldn't be involved in the event. So what are you going to do about it?
Well, Billy, if you had allowed me to finish, I was going to say how would you deserve a shot at gold? You see, Regal, now looking at all four in the room, we've got gold here in the World Wrestling Federation. That should be defended from a mandatory sense, because, after all, we're in the UK on Saturday. And I don't know how many of you know your geography, but the UK is in Europe. The four look at each other, intrigued. So, the four of you will be in the ring in a bit, and the winner of the Fatal 4-Way match will go on to Queen's Request to challenge Matt Hardy for the European Championship. Now go get ready, gentlemen. I'm busy. Kurt Angle comes down to the ring, irate at losing at the chances of becoming, as he claimed, would be the first Royal WWF Champion at the King of the Ring, due to his defeat by Chris Benoit thanks to Test and Shane McMahon on Raw.
Shane, Test, I'm not waiting around. Get down here now, because I'm going to kick both your asses. And when I'm done with you, you'll have no choice but to award me the WCW Championship right now, because you'll be in no condition to own WCW after I own your ass.
Shane and Test oblige, and the two walk down.
Now, Kurt, you had your chance to make the right decision. Join WCW, join the best of the best. But not only did you refuse my suggestion, you saw it fit to give me the Angle Slam. All you had to do was say no, Kurt, shake my hand and walk away. I mean, after all, that is one of your three eyes. Integrity, right? But you showed no integrity when you attacked me after you made your decision. And that, Kurt, I know. So it's only fair that in return, I have my boy get revenge on you.
Shane is interrupted by Edge and Christian, who come down to the ring to back up Kurt.
You see, Test, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's an annoying Canadian with long blonde hair who thinks he looks like a rock star.
Edge interrupts.
Hey, Kurt, I don't know if you know this about me and Christian, but we're right behind you.
Kurt says,
I know you guys are here to back me up, and I appreciate it. Now that we've got Test cornered...
Then in return, it's interrupted by Rikishi, who comes down to the ring. He sees that things could escalate involving Angle, Edge and Christian against Test and Shane. Rikishi tells Kurt to get over his defeat to Benoit. It happened. Rikishi isn't moaning about losing his Judgment Day rematch to Stone Cold Steve Austin, so Angle shouldn't be moaning about losing his match to the Rabid Wolverine. But the interruptions continue, as out comes the game with Stephanie, as well as Commissioner Regal. The Goodwill Ambassador states that, as a Samoan likes to get involved with various superstars, he can get himself involved against multiple superstars, and he's going to get involved with multiple superstars when he takes on Edge and Christian in a handicap match right now. Triple H tells Rikishi he's coming to watch this match up close, just to see how impressive Rikishi can be. The Samoan puts up a valiant effort against arguably one of the best tag teams in the World Wrestling Federation at this moment, but he's aided by Shane and Test in being wary of the Canadian Blonde's underhanded tactics, and Test is there to make sure that the Olympic gold medalist is kept in his place, until the two decide to brawl at ringside, while Shane cheers Test on. The referee has noticed this, and is distracted, especially when Triple H is coming to the ring and pedigrees Rikishi, with Christian covering the Samoan to get the victory. While Triple H fights with Rikishi away from the hard camera, Edge and Christian get involved with Angle's attack on Test, while Shane gets involved to stop the attack. The Rabid Wolverine then comes down to even the odds, when Commissioner Regal, from the comfort of his office chair through the Titantron, tells 6 competitors in the ring that they have been summoned to settle their differences in front of royalty, as Edge, Christian and Kurt Angle will face Shane McMahon, Test and Chris Benoit in a 6-man tag team match at Queen's Request. Stone Cold Steve Austin is in the corridor with Vince McMahon, and the two talk about the sneak attack that had happened on The Undertaker, grimacing in pain and needed to be held up.
Good job, pal,
Vince tells the WWF champion.
Of course, nobody messes with the Texas rattlesnake. Except, it wasn't me, Vince.
When Vince asks Austin if he has any ideas who it could be, Stone Cold can't give a reply. Same in return, Vince has no idea. But no matter, if the American Badass is down, that makes things a lot easier for Austin in his main event match with Kane. But their satisfaction with the Undertaker situation is forgotten about when Austin comes face to face with the Crippler, who's now the #1 contender for the WWF Championship at the King of the Ring. Austin locks eyes with Benoit. Is that a smile or a snarl on the Texas rattlesnake? Michael Cole asks. Austin's facial expression is hard to describe, but there's no problem describing Chris Benoit's facial reaction. He's smiling at Austin. He looks at the WWF Championship, then looks back at Austin, then laughs and walks off. This is the first of the final 2 King of the Ring qualifying matches. Regal is shown backstage watching the match from his commissioner's office, as Raven, scheduled to appear at Queen's Request, against whom is yet to be confirmed, faces Gangrel. Regal isn't upset with the result though, which sees the Raven effect effectively end Gangrel's involvement in the King of the Ring tournament. The brackets are shown, and no doubt Raven faces his toughest challenge yet when he'll be the one hoping to keep his King of the Ring tournament chances alive, because his next opponent is 2000's King of the Ring winner, Kurt Angle. The shifters focus back to Commissioner Regal's office, as Vince McMahon wants to know who Raven's opponent will be. Regal tells Vince if he will kindly join the Commissioner in opening up the show in London, as Raven's match will be the opening match, and Mr. McMahon will be able to find out for himself. The two hear a commotion outside, as they open up the door to see X Factor, Malenko and Saturn with Eddie Guerrero, and the Holly cousins with Molly Holly, all brawl with each other. They quickly shut the door and the commotion doesn't reach the Commissioner's office when Regal turns to Vince. "Yep, I can't wait for Saturday, especially with these ghastly Americans brawling all over the place." Vince replies, "Yeah," stops and thinks to himself, then looks at Regal in a shocked manner. Vince probably thinking to himself, is he accusing me of being ghastly as well? Meanwhile, in Vince's office, Stone Cold Steve Austin is with Triple H and Stephanie. The two hatch a plan to take out Kane in the main event when Austin asks the game to accompany him to ringside. They can do what they do best as the two-man power trip.
"Same situation as last time, Triple H. You grab the chair and hit Kane, and I grab the victory."
The two smile, as the last time this happened was successful without a hitch, and Austin retained the WWF Championship. He won't be going to the King of the Ring this year, as he was knocked out of the tournament, but at least Billy Gunn can say he is the one going to the United Kingdom by hitting the one and only on K-Quick. The victory means that he will be challenging Matt Hardy for the European Championship at Queen's request. Chris Jericho comes to the ring and demands that Commissioner Regal come out to the ring, as Y2J wants to know who will be defending his King of the Ring spot against. He's interrupted by Raven, who wants to know who his opponent will be at Queen's request on Saturday. They're in turn interrupted by former Commissioner Mick Foley. He wants to know what's going on with the women's title situation involving Aja Kong. Regal comes out and demands that the three clear the ring because Regal has an announcement of his own, and that he has found a much better lady to accompany him to Queen's request. The camera turns to stage to reveal yet another women's legend and former WWF Women's Champion in Sensational Sherry. Now Regal says he's not going to get Sherry to do his chores because she is a woman of class, but he asks Sensational Sherry to demonstrate her class when it is revealed yet again that she will go one-on-one in an impromptu match with Aja Kong, who is now coming down to the ring. And again, this one is as academic as a match with Leilani Kai on Raw, as Aja Kong defeats Sensational Sherry within a few minutes, again with the Huracan. As the EMTs tend to Sensational Sherry, Mick Foley talks with Chris Jericho backstage. As Sensational Sherry is carried out, the two decide that something needs to be done regarding Commissioner Regal's treatment of the women's roster. Jericho has an idea and tells Foley to follow him. Vince has rejoined Triple H, Stone Cold and Stephanie in his office, now accompanied by Big Show. Even though none of the guys did or are aware of the person that has taken out The Undertaker tonight, Vince demands that Triple H and Stone Cold work together to take apart the Big Red Machine, which will just mean that Austin will only have to worry about The Undertaker on Saturday, and that's if the American Badass is able to make it to Queen's request. In the final qualifying match of the tournament, Albert of X Factor battles Latino Heat. The two were caught in a skirmish backstage earlier involving their respective teams as well as the Holly cousins. Latino Heat is about to hit the frog splash on Albert when out comes Justin Credible. The referee is telling Justin Credible not to get in the ring, but unbeknownst to the referee, X-Pac is on the other side of the ring, giving a member of X Factor the victory thanks to X-Pac's X Factor, and then a choke bomb by Albert. It wasn't without interference, but Albert has picked up a shot victory against Eddie Guerrero, who now finds himself out of the tournament. Albert, in the meantime, finds himself in the quarterfinals against his old TNA partner in Test. Regal, who's in his commissioner's office still, puts down the phone and is leaping for joy. He's pacing around the office. He thinks to himself before leaving the office and walking down the corridor, telling everyone, "She's going to be here! She's going to be here!" He wants the backstage people to be on their best behaviour, wear smart clothes, stand up straight, practice civility between now and Saturday. When one person asks what Regal means what he's saying by, she's coming. The Queen, you bloody pillock! The Queen is coming to watch our show in London! Now dress up smart and practice your manners. You'll not be embarrassing the World Wrestling Federation on Saturday. Regal walks off down the corridor talking to himself. She's coming! I can't believe it! The Queen will be there! To which Michael Cole exclaims, "Oh my!" Stone Cold Steve Austin is in control against the Big Red Machine during their match, with Triple H at ringside distracting the referee to keep the rattlesnake on top. But the lights have again flickered and gone black. Rolling hits as The Undertaker is coming down to the ring, but he's limping. However, he stops at the ramp, and then looks at Stone Cold and smiles at him as he shakes off his left leg to reveal that there is nothing wrong with his leg at all. Nobody knows who attacked The Undertaker, because nobody actually attacked The Undertaker. It was a ruse, Michael Cole points out. It's a savvy move, as Austin now has to contend with the American Badass on the outside, as well as the Big Red Machine in the ring. Kane is now back up, but Triple H dares the American Badass to come back at him. Triple H comes in the ring with The Undertaker following as Kane watches on, but Austin comes from behind to roll Kane up with a handful of tights and get the victory. Austin has won. Barely. Vince comes into the ring to celebrate with the Texas Rattlesnake and the game as they leave up the ramp, but The Undertaker's grabbed a mic. He tells Stone Cold Steve Austin that a breakdown is coming, with Michael Cole making it known that The Undertaker is referencing the Breakdown pay-per-view in September of 1998, when, coincidentally, Undertaker and Kane pinned Austin at the same time in a WWF Championship match. Although it was never decided who the winner was in that match, it was definitely decided who the loser was, and that was Stone Cold Steve Austin, who lost his WWF Championship. SmackDown goes off the air as Stone Cold looks like he's seen a ghost, when he realises that history could repeat itself on Saturday, when he takes on The Undertaker and Kane for the WWF title at Queen's request. 85, good score. Was not expecting to get that higher mark, to be honest. I'm sure there's a lot of unwritten rules in this game that if you happen to work out and abide by, can help you get a good score. So in this instance, I'm convinced, or I can't prove, that if you start off strong with a good match or great angle, it sets the tone for the rest of the event. I can't prove this is true or not, and in some ways it may sound self-explanatory, and it may just be common sense, wouldn't it? You start off with a great show, you can't do too bad for the rest of it. So I started off with a really great angle. I don't think I've had anything considered killer, other than the opening promo, which just happened to score 100. I will confess that I struggle with this episode, just trying to piece together a coherent story that ties into Queen's Request, which will be the next show, and how that will tie into future shows that leads to the King of the Ring pay-per-view. It does feel like a lot of interruption in this show, and multi-man promos, but then I think every promo in the Attitude Era started like that. You know, the beginning of a Raw and SmackDown show would happen. One person comes out and talks, which leads to someone interrupting, who's probably not involved with the feud, it's somebody else, which then leads to somebody else who may be involved with that feud comes out, and then leads to somebody else coming out who is actually the subject of the feud. You could always guarantee when things like this happen, Jim Ross or Michael Cole would exclaim in commentary, "Oh, now what?" to set up the rest of the show and maybe a main event. So I remember an opening segment like this, for instance. I'm not sure if it was on Raw and SmackDown. I'm pretty sure it was in September 2000, before the Unforgiven pay-per-view. Now, this was more of a weekly storyline purpose, just to advance to the next show, rather than the pay-per-view itself. And it was to set up the whodunit in reference to Triple H getting arrested. So the promo starts off, I think, with Triple H and Stephanie, and then out comes Commissioner Foley, and then out comes Kurt Angle, who is feuding with Triple H and Stephanie, and then out come Eddie Guerrero and Chyna. Chyna obviously having history with Triple H, but that's the reason why they're out. And then Foley decides in this storyline that it was Kurt Angle who was the person that got Triple H arrested, because it's Kurt and Triple H who are going to fight Unforgiven in a street fight, until Test comes out and interrupts when he's still with TNA, and it turns out to be Test who made this phone call that got Triple H arrested. I remember watching this segment back, and I mean, back then, I was just engrossed with absolutely anything. I mean, looking back now and thinking, good God, this segment's still going on. I rewatched it recently, looked back to see how long it lasted, and it was 25 minutes before it was over. But that's the one thing that I think always worked with the Attitude Era. I mean, okay, it's 25 minutes, it's way too long, but it was always kept fresh when you'd have somebody else come in and interrupt. And I think it's always a really good idea when you involve a lot of people who are really good at what they do, like talking with each other. You always include somebody who's probably not as experienced into the mix, because, I mean, although it stands out that they're not as good as the rest of them, it still makes the overall angle somewhat decent, and so the person who's not as good kind of gets elevated as a result, maybe. And this is something that you've probably noticed me do a lot. So, in the 100 rated segment, I've included Bradshaw as to be the reason why he's going one-on-one with Triple H in the main event. Sorry, not in the main event, in the opening match. So I'm hoping that something like that 100 might raise his profile. Not that he needs to, because he's not bad at the moment. As a tag team wrestler, he's great, but he's getting decent scores himself. I mean, if that was the case in real life, no wonder he became the John Bradshaw Layfield character, and the McMahons had, certainly all the faith in the world in making JBL a really good character. Might have something to do with him being rich as well, but to quote Taz, I digress. So hopefully that 100 rated segment might raise Bradshaw's profile. But also, there's a second reason. Again, not sure if this is common knowledge or a secret, but again, I don't know if this might be just me. I've noticed that if you put two people in a match, in a one-on-one match, but they're not in storyline, if you have one person cut a promo on the other on the same show, it slightly raises their match rating by a couple of points, as opposed to just having a match with no reason for it to be. Well, you can have a match for whatever reason, whatever you wanted to do. But if you were to have a match that wasn't in storyline and then have somebody cut a promo on somebody else in reference to this match, I am pretty sure it raises their match rating only by a couple of points. But that's what makes all the difference. Again, I can't confirm if this is true or not. It's just something either consciously noticed, but again, I could be wrong with my assumptions. I did think to myself, I've put a whole lot of Regal into this episode, but I'd like to think it makes sense storyline wise, seeing as it's leading up to a show that's hosted by the Commissioner in a couple of days. Now, this will be the big test, seeing how well these stories pay off on Saturday, because it's going to be tough. To be honest, I think I'll save the reasons as to why at the end of the Queen's Request pay-per-view. I'll give a little bit more context as to what I've done when the show's all said and done. So Queen's Request will be the next show. Aja Kong, Raven, Geraldine and Chris Jericho will be competing, against whom Regal will reveal during the show. X-Factor to defend the tag team titles in Tag Team Turmoil. There's only them, Malenko and Saturn, and the Holly Cousins that are confirmed. There are going to be a British tag team, maybe two, to be confirmed by Regal, which will happen during the show. A six-man tag team match. Chris Benoit teams up with Shane McMahon and Test to take on Edge, Christian and Kurt Angle. And then the triple threat for the WWF Championship, when Stone Cold Steve Austin defends against Undertaker and Kane. We now know who's in the King of the Ring quarterfinals, and I'll throw up the graphic to show the tournament at the end of this video. I'm planning on just having the semi-final matches at the King of the Ring. I know some may frown on having a tournament that just features at least the semis, but I'd rather keep the competitors as fresh as possible and to get good scores. If they have a third match, I'm sure it's going to devalue the score and increase risk of injury. So I'm just going to keep it to the semis. So that leaves the quarterfinal matches. And with 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns, what I'll do is there'll be 1 King of the Ring match per Raw and SmackDown show before the semi-finals are official for the King of the Ring tournament at the pay-per-view. And again, just to mention one more thing about Queen's Request, this will be too much of a format that's different from Raw or SmackDown. I still haven't decided if I'm going to show highlights. Definitely for the main event, at least. Maybe the 6-man tag team match. I still haven't decided yet. But if not, the rest will be rambling. Me rambling as per usual. So hopefully you won't be waiting too long for me to put that show up. And as always, thank you for watching.